Hey, yeah, what's up? This disciple Marshall Occurrence Rain back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-Freemason all day, anti-gang stalker all day, anti-psychic all day, anti-telepath all day, anti-witchcraft all day. Yeah, so this video is going to be about, and this is a worldwide video, but we're making an example out of the Americans. This is a worldwide video for international reasons, for international audience. Okay, this video is about adult vaginas and child vaginas. Yeah, we're gonna get to the bottom of this. We're gonna get to the bottom of it. You already know where I'm going with this. You already know where I'm going with this. You got all these people in the country and in the world that act like they don't know the difference between adult vagina and child vagina. There's only two types of vaginas. There's not adult vagina and then kind of an adult vagina, a child vagina, and then she's kind of an adult a little bit. So that's an adult child vagina. There's no such thing. There is no such thing as a child adult vagina. There is no such thing. There is no adult meets child vagina. There is no such thing. It's either an adult vagina or a child vagina. And what we find out is that half of these places, these destinations that you like to go to, including Jamaica, half of them got child vagina as the age of consent. Right there in Jamaica, the age of consent is what, 16? That's child vagina. Well, you gonna go down there and get your vibration right and all of the stuff you talking about? Ow. They got child vagina as the age of consent. Okay, 16. Before 1988 in Jamaica, 14 was the age of consent. Before 1988, that's from all the 60s, the 1960s, the 1970s, and most of the 1980s. They changed it at the end of the 80s, in 88. So that's all the 80s, basically. Leaving basically a year and some change from the whole 80s. So from the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, when all those rock and roll stars and all them people was going down to Jamaica, they was going down there, right? And the age of consent was at 14. And you don't think they took advantage of that? Oh, so nobody took advantage of it. It just sat there. In Jamaica, having the age of consent with voluptuous girls. You know how Jamaicans are voluptuous. Let's keep it real. Endowed boys, everyone knows, it's no secret. This is not homosexual information. It's no secret. Jamaicans are endowed. You don't think they took advantage of that? You don't think they took advantage of 14-year-old endowed boys and all these people that was visiting Jamaica back then, before 88, through all the 60s, the 70s, and most of the 80s? You don't think they took advantage of child vagina and endowed 14-year-old boys? Then you're a gullible, naive person, ain't you? You're a green person. You're green. You thought I was green. I just know how to get it done. And you didn't think this was the way. Yeah, you was waiting for me to die, wasn't you? How'd that work out for you? I'm still here. I'm still good in here. Okay? And so the bottom line is this, man. The bottom line is this. It doesn't seem internationally that we can all settle on one perspective on this situation. And the real problem is this. People cannot answer one question. The one question is this: can adults have sex with child vagina? Yes or no? I don't want to hear about any ancient stories and ancient recipes and all these other things you want to talk about. I don't want to hear nothing about ancient secrets or anything. Can we have sex as adults with children vagina, child vagina? Yes or no? It's a yes or no question. I'm not asking for a book. I'm not asking for you to write a book. It's a yes or no question. And it's not a complicated question. Okay? You either believe in having sex with adults or children. You got something in your mind and heart that make you want to have sex with children. Okay? Let's be real. That's what it is, because that's not an adult. So what is it then? It's a child, and it's a child's vagina. It needs to be said just like that. Because if you look at all these places that these people respect, America they love Jamaica. You treat them as they more better and spiritual, more spiritual and everything than us, that they're superior to us. Well, not with the age of consent. The age of consent is at 16 in Jamaica. Look, man, I'm kicking the facts. No one should be insulted with the truth. You shouldn't be insulted with the truth. You shouldn't be, I don't care what the reasons are. You should not be insulted with the truth. You got the age of consent at 16 in Jamaica. That's child vagina. And before 1988, they had it at 14. All the 60s, all the 1960s, all the 1970s, most of the 80s, through all that rock and roll time when all these American stars was going down there. At the end of 88, in 88 is when they changed it. That's all the 80s, basically. You don't think, you know how many American stars were going down there then? In all the 80s, it was 14 the whole time. In Jamaica, in most of the 80s, all of the 70s, the age of consent was 14 years old. You don't think none of these American stars were going down there and taking advantage of that, man? Come on, man. Come on. That's all who was going down there mostly. All these stars and rock and roll stars who was already doing questionable things with half of their audience anyway. Half of these movie stars and actors are all caught up in what they don't act like especially here in America, they don't know what's going on. Okay? So listen, you opened up a whole war playing games, bro. That's what you did. You opened up a whole war playing games over here, man. You shouldn't have done it. But listen, man, you don't play with no black man like that, man. Listen, I ain't saving nobody. I ain't saving nobody. Okay, you try to put me on the chopping block, you try to put my credibility on the chopping block, I'm gonna show you all the people you respect, and I'm gonna show you what they do. Brazil right now got the age of consent at 14 years old. There ain't no excuse for that. I don't care. Listen. I'm not saying it's bad people in Brazil. I'm telling you what it is in the government. You can be stupid about it. You can be smart about it. Okay? 14 is child vagina. Simple as that. It's simple as that, bruh. It's simple. And do we agree that should we have sex as the international community with child vagina, yes or no? That's why I told you little lame Americans, man. Listen, you're way out of league playing with me, boy. This is the problem. This is the problem. Punks start wars that they can't finish. I'm built for war. And the proof of it is I'm still here unscathed. That's the proof of it. The proof of that I'm a soldier is I'm still here in the right of mind, sound of mind, still banging on these people. Still banging on them. Still bringing up credible information and thoughts to depulverize my enemies. Listen, man. Listen, America. Listen. The problem between you, the difference between you and other people in the world is that you have been gang stalking people. Your community has been gang stalking people according to hearsay from wayward family members of people. And you've been listening to that like they was Jesus talking the gospel, like these people are Jesus that you heard and what they told you. You act like what they said was Jesus told them, that like Jesus said it. And so now you gotta be accountable for going around without any evidence. And then we find you out to have child marriage, which China does not have and Russia does not have. China doesn't have it. Russia does not have child marriage. You do. But here you are talking about what people do sexually. You've rolled around the country. You have these Freemasons and these other secret societies riding around the country, doing operations against Christians and other people concerning sexual integrity, trying to see if they're a pedophile or a sexual deviant. And then we find you out to have child marriage. That's the difference. Brazil is not riding around looking for child molesters. Brazil is not doing that. That's the difference. You know your laws, but here you are riding around talking about pedophiles. Well, you should know your laws, but your culture doesn't, do they? All these famous people don't know your laws, do you? Do they? With child marriage here. They don't know about that, do they? That's what I'm talking about. All these famous people around here who act like they cultured, and we so cultured. Do you know where I ain't been? Do you know where this shirt comes from? You know where I live? You could spend all your life savings and couldn't even spend one night there. You might be right, but guess what? They make you look even worse. They make you look even more disgusting. To know that you're so cultured, but don't know your country got child marriage. Can you explain to me how all these lawyers go to law school, come and go from law school? Hear me out now. In America, all these people go to these universities to study laws, right? They study all these laws. They come back to the community and they know nothing about the child marriage in America that's been here since 1957. They know nothing about it. It's the laws of child marriage has been here. This is the new information I found out. It has at least been here since 1957, and I suspect it's been here basically the whole time. I just haven't got the information back. I just got to go a little bit back further, but right now I'm just going to stick with 1957 for right now. But just keep in mind, there was child marriage also before 1957 in America, and it never changed. See, this is why you don't play games, man. This is why. Now you see, because listen, this is going to haunt you for the rest of your life. Oh yeah. Listen, we don't need the courts. If you got a conscience, if you got a conscience, this is going to haunt you for the rest of your life as a community. You got child marriage here, and you've been riding around like it's all good, eating this Ronald McDonald food, eating this hamburger food, eating burgers. And here you are with child marriage. There ain't no mercy, because you should have knew better before you stepped out here like Chuck Norris for kids. Hi, I'm Chuck Norris for kids. Meanwhile, you got Little League marriage. Hey, we got Little League marriage, guys. Come on, Little League, yay! We got Little League marriage. Come on, guys. Got to get you down to the courts. Got Little League marriage. You know how the kids be running in a little stampede, a little huddle, little herd. You put the kids in a little herd and run them down to the courts. Hey, come on, guys. We got Little League marriage. You got baseball, you got Major League, and you got Little League baseball. You got Little League marriage. Who does that? And then ride around talking about people's credibility. That's what got me. Okay, if you're doing that, then you will shut up and realize you and your community and the thugs and everybody else. You always shut up, realizing you got child marriage in your country. That's how other countries are. They know what their laws are, so guess what? They shut up. That's what I'm talking about. That's what got you the liability. You sitting up here with child marriage, talking and yapping like some hood politicians eating the 3-piece of chicken and the biscuit. That's where you got it from. All this culture, all this street stuff out here. And the other side is all these police out here. That's where the white side got it from. All them police work you want to do. Black people got it from the hood politics, sitting back eating 3 pieces of chicken with a biscuit. That's where you got it from. And it got you in trouble because you caught the liability of your own laws, sitting up here playing games, and you should have shut up. You ain't have no room. Listen, you don't got no room to talk about nothing. You got child marriage here. How you can talk in the right of mind with that going on? You don't got no voice. I'm sorry to tell you. The only voice you got is a voice like mine talking about it. That's a 7 hour. That's the only voice you got talking about it. Talking about how ashamed you are about the fact that your country got child marriage. You ain't got no room to be out here talking about nobody, what they doing at all. At all. That's what we talk about. And like I said, the bottom line is this, man. All you people that sit back pious, I can't stand people like that here in America. And let's protect the kids, protect my nephews, protect my uncle. Protect my nephew, protect my nieces. I'm like, man, do you know where you live at? You live in a country with child marriage. Talking about what you would do to people. Me and this man right here, we'll cut somebody for our children. Okay. Do you know your country got child marriage? You don't know. Do you know New York got the age of consent at 17? Meaning fully grown men can penetrate 17-year-old girls' vaginas? This is the same stuff people turn up for. But you don't want to turn up when it's the government, do you? That's the sucker in you. You know what that means to me? You ain't really about this life and you don't have no business talking about it. The bottom line is, if y'all got child marriage here in this country, you ain't got no room to be having no politics about no child molestation or any of that. All that got to go. Based on the fact that you've had child marriage since 1957. Cut all that down. No. You had child marriage since 57. Before a 64 Chevy was here. Before a 1964 Chevy was here that all these rappers like to ride around and collect. Before that car was here, that model was here, you had child marriage here in America. Man, you can't be serious, bro. Man, listen. You cannot be serious out here, man. That's what I'm saying. People like me, listen, bro. I rule whether you like it or not. I rule. I promise you I rule. It ain't nobody getting on top of this, buddy. Listen, you can try to manipulate all you want. But everybody know I rule, bro. Everybody know. You know what everybody know? That you got child marriage now. You got child marriage in America. That's what we know, sucker. And listen. I might kick a little joke or two in between this, what I'm talking about, but this ain't no game. This ain't no game, man. Okay, this is real live in real time and real reality. Can't sit up here and play with people's lives and livelihood and character and assassinate characters, and here you are with child marriage in 43 states. And you just now had 43 states. It was 44 states of child marriage at first. Which means you only had 6 states that kept it from being the whole country with child marriage. And here you are riding around. See, like I told you, Brazil got the age of consent at 14. Jamaica has the age of consent at 16, right? That's still child vagina. But they're not riding around oblivious to their laws, talking about we got to protect children like dummies. They're not doing that. They know what their laws are. Therefore, they can't come out to the public talking reckless like that. Like they stupid to the laws and stuff. That's what you did. You came out to the community like Chuck Norris for kids, completely dumb to your own laws. Now you see why you got the liability. That's the main reason. It's not just that you had child marriage here. It's the fact that you went around as if you are this noble community that has no dealing with children sexually. That's how you projected yourself. Yes, you did. Oh, so they projected themselves like they halfway like children? Nah, that's a switch up. They'll be just now doing that, wouldn't they be? I'm saying like Yoda. They would just now be doing that, wouldn't they be? You would just now be doing that. It wasn't like that before. Yeah, you might talk like it's okay a little bit. Nah, you wasn't like that before. Well, then how all this get started then? Oh, because you heard certain things. Nah, you was talking about children. That's what you was talking about. Yes, you was. Come on. You can switch it up all you want, but we know better. You was talking about children. That's what you was talking about. That's what you was talking about, right? You was talking about that. Okay, so how can you talk about that? You got child marriage since 1957. You got child marriage in the United States of America since 1957. And probably further back than that. I would say I'm just being generous right now. Because, I already know how this goes because I've studied it long enough to know. That means if they had it in 57, that means they probably had it back since the 1920s. Over 100 years ago. Some would say that they just had it in the beginning and it never stopped. That's what many historians probably will say. Well, if they had it in 57, they probably had it before that. And as you go back in time, culturally speaking, people were more inclined to do this. So they were doing it more back, even further and further, which means is the indication they were doing it from the very beginning of the conception of America. It never stopped. They were doing it from the beginning. When you look at the fact that they had the age, here's this part. When you look at the fact that they had the age of consent at 7 years old, this is a law. Listen closely. They had the age of consent at 7 years old. That means they were having sex. America, the government, was having sex with 7-year-old girls. Does that information ever play out to you like you a kid, like you a 16-year-old kid? Are you a 16-year-old kid? Well, information shouldn't be playing out to you, should it? This doesn't play out to me. This information doesn't play out. They were having sex with 7-year-old girls. Now, you tell me that's right. The United States of America passed a law for people to have sex with 7-year-old girls. You telling me that's right? You telling me that's not pedophilia? Man, how much younger could it get? 7 years old. Huh? Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? You didn't know that your American government, that you serve so faithfully and loyally, you didn't know that they had the age of consent at 7 years old in one state here in America. Did you? You didn't know that, did you? That was, and this is how I suspect that child marriage has been going on this whole time. That was in the year 1880. And if they had the age of consent at 7 years old, you don't think they was marrying children too? Well, either whether they were or not, they were having sex with young girls. Because in the year 1880, excuse me, the rest of the country had the age of consent at 11 and 12 years old. Oh, you didn't know that, did you? All the rest of the country. So let me say it all over again. In the year 1880, most of the states in America had the age of consent either at 11 specifically or 12 specifically. They were having sex abroad. There was no 18 and 16. No. In 1880, go look for yourself. Listen, man, my work is pretty simple. Simple is powerful in this situation. I keep it very simple. You can go look for yourself and see it right there. The age of consent, 11 and 12. They was having sex with 11 and 12-year-old girls. In the middle of that, like a little town on a hill, a little pedophile town on a hill, the state of Delaware had the age of consent in the middle of the age of consent being 11 and 12 in other countries, in other states. Delaware had it at 7 years old. They thought to have sex with 7-year-old girls. Your government thought it was okay for that. Your government was cool with that. The same government. This is the same government. I don't care how much time went by. It's the same government. And guess what? Guess what? Guess what? No one has topped that record. No one has that record. No one in the world, not anywhere in the world, will you find a lower age of consent anywhere. So guess what that means, buddy? That means America has the world record for the lowest age of consent worldwide. In the state of Delaware, at 7 years old in the year 1880. Now you put all these links together. Now you see how I got this information? And hear this part. For people that have been following my videos for a substantial amount of time, understand that this has been a spiritual progression. I have not gotten all this information all at one time. God led me to this information. He led me to that information. He led me to this information. Now the latest information is I found out that they had child marriage since 1957. Okay, this is what I worked up to. God gave me pieces of it more and more as time went by, and it all made sense as how he was doing it. Instead of me just getting and sitting down and just putting all this information together. Because if it had happened like that, you wouldn't have been able to understand how bad it is until you've seen each part for a certain amount of time, and then I went to the other part. You see what I'm saying? You can't be slow following me. So you had to digest each part first before before I could give you another part. You have to digest one part, each part one at a time, so that you can see how bad it really is. Now you see how bad it really is. You see now. You had the age of consent in under 18 in 40 states. That's what I first started with. That was my first information. The age of consent under 18 in 40 states. That's child vagina. In 40 states, that's one law. That's not child marriage law. At this time, I didn't know anything about child marriage law that had been here since 1957. I didn't know anything about that. See, this was a whole campaign. That's what I knew that much, and I knew this message was progressive. So if you're not paying attention, you will think stupidly that I'm talking about the same thing. I'm not talking about the same thing. This message is progressive. I'm showing you more and more information. And if it didn't happen like this, you would have digested it all at one time and you wouldn't have got nothing. Because it would have been too much to digest at one time. Now you're able to digest it all now. You see what I'm saying? Now I'm able to show you how horrible it is for America to have the world record. I'm showing you how horrible it is for them to have the world record, right? Above everybody. And they just got new child marriage laws 3 years ago. Look at all these different laws. They got the world record. That's one law. They got child marriage laws. That's other laws. Then they just got a new child marriage law 3 years ago. That's 3 different laws. Now you see how it's a link. It's all links, all put together to show you that these people deserve destruction for going around like Chuck Norris for kids, and they got all these links of child pedophilia by law now. This is a whole different ball game of exposing these people in your community, these famous people, these wayward people in your community. This is a whole different situation. We're talking about the law system that has all these different links. The world record. They have the world record for the lowest age of consent. Nobody else has it. No one else has it. You can go look all you want. You can lie to yourself. You can try to Jedi mind trick me. There is no one else that has the world record for the lowest age of consent. It is America. You would have never guessed that, would you? Now you see how stupid it was for them to play games. Now you see how stupid it was. And it ain't no mercy, considering the circumstances, considering the information. There is no mercy. No way. When you got the world record as a community for the lowest age of consent, it's half the age of the age of consent for Brazil. Brazil is 14. This was 7. It was half that. Some lawmakers, I don't care who it was, they got together and thought it would be great to make 7 years old the age of consent. Now you see why you can't talk about this. Now you see why, right? When somebody is educated like me, and you got all these lawyers around, look at this part. You got all these American lawyers around talking about pedophilia, talking about aspiring to prosecute child pedophilia. But yet you don't even know your own laws in your own country with 43 states of child marriage and child marriage since 1957. Man, come on, man, that's a joke. Don't you see this has been a whole big joke the whole time? Like some big show business. Well, I mean, when you get down to the laws, they're goofy. Listen, they're absolutely goofy, bro. And ain't no Jedi mind tricks or psychological tricks ain't gonna work. They ain't gonna hold up. Man, all people care about is why the American government had the age of consent at 7 years old. When girls were still urinating in bed. Having sex with girls with pissy vaginas. Having sex with girls with pissy vaginas. 7 years old is a pissy vagina for a man. Children will experiment among each other. They don't even know. A man knows that's a pissy vagina. How in the world you gonna put the age of consent at 7 years old in America? You got child vagina in the world and adult vagina. There's only two different types of vaginas. There's not 1, 3 where it's kind of an adult. See, that's how the pedophile justified. Well, it's kind of an adult. She's mature for her age. Do she have an adult vagina? Then you're in trouble, buddy. As far as your philosophy, you in trouble because you incriminate everyone else. You incriminate everybody else, right? You incriminate everybody else. But we find out that it's safe to say with the age of consent under 18 in 40 states, you have a preference for child vagina. Well, this is the laws. So it shows a preference here. Oh, so it's not a preference, but it's what you prefer. It's not a preference, but it's what you prefer to put in law as the age of consent. But it's not a preference. Okay. Right here in New York, the age of consent is 17. Listen, last time I checked, 17-year-old girls have child vagina. 17-year-old girls don't have adult vagina, do they? It's one or the other, my friends. Adult vagina or child vagina? Which one is it? 17 years old. You've been to school now. Come on now. You ain't stupid, are you? So a 17-year-old girl has what kind of vagina? A child vagina or an adult vagina? So you're having sex with an adult vagina. Okay, so when you get off and you ejaculate, you're ejaculating to the fact that she's a child, right? Well, she can't be an adult. So your fantasy is clung into the child world. Your whole ejaculation and fantasy and sexual escapade, if you will, is captive to child world. It's not an adult world. And the age of consent is at 17 here in New York. You as a community have no room to talk about. Listen, you don't have no room to talk about it. Nothing. That's child vagina to me. And it's child vagina to scientists and doctors and lawyers. But to politicians, it don't seem to be child vagina, do it? Hey, to politicians, it don't seem to be child vagina. So we got to go to the scientists, don't we? We got to go to the doctors, don't we? Okay, so what a doctor's going to tell you? That's a child vagina. She's 17. That's not an adult vagina. Some will say it's not even fully developed. It hasn't become fully bloomed yet. At 17, no. That's what a doctor would tell you. It's not even fully developed. It has not met its full growth peak as a vagina. So it's not even fully developed. That's what the age of consent is here in New York. Listen, you bit off more than you can chew. And now you got to swallow all of it. You bit off more than you could chew in this situation. Now you're going to strangle and choke to death on all you bit off, buddy. You bit off wars about sexual integrity, and here you are with the age of consent all around the country having sex with child vagina. Hey, who you mad at? Me, yourself. That's why it's a perfect war. Because you did it to yourself, buddy. Listen, when you mad at the truth, the bottom line is this the truth. The bottom line is you either have adult vagina or child vagina in the world. Listen, I ain't using no Jedi mind tricks. That's facts. So do you agree that we should not have sex with children vagina at all, right? So why they doing it? Why they got child marriage all throughout the country? Why you got child marriage all throughout the country? You can't kill a man like me, buddy. Listen, I'm too noble and I'm too right. You got child marriage in the country. You're running around like Chuck Norris for kids. That's what other countries didn't do. They didn't roll around like Chuck Norris for kids. You did. Brazil didn't do that. Jamaica's not doing that. They're not having witch hunts down in Jamaica looking for pedophiles. Didn't hear anything about that. All these other countries that have the age under 18 are not witch hunting their community looking for pedophiles. But you are doing that because you're ignorant when it comes to the laws of child marriage and child sexuality and people interacting with children. You're ignorant concerning it. You was blind, running around, thinking your country surely would prosecute anybody messing with children at any age. That's what you thought, didn't you? Let's be 100. Most of you thought that. Okay, maybe 16, 17. They might not do nothing about that. Okay, what about child marriage then? You didn't expect that, did you? You knew if you were a New Yorker from the old school, you knew about the age of consent at 17. You knew about it. But you didn't listen. You didn't listen to it from a spiritual man's perspective, did you? You got child vagina and adult vagina. You got a child vagina, you got adult vagina. Right or wrong? And you went around prosecuting and persecuting people for things that you're doing. That's where your liability is that you're overlooking. You're constantly overlooking that because you're trying to dig in the books and find a way to justify the ages. But what you forget is that you persecuted and played games with people in your community, but yet you've done the same thing. Now what should happen to you based on that? Oh, we were wrong. That's it? Nah, buddy, I'm sorry to tell you. You owe me a bag. You owe me money. Yeah. Besides the whole fact of you having it under 18, and that's child vagina, okay, you went around acting like somebody was doing something that you ain't doing. Because in order for you to prosecute somebody, you can't be doing it, can you? You can't be prosecuting people and you doing the same thing, can you? That's why your law system is invalid now. That's why anarchy is on the way. Because you went around prosecuting people to the community, assassinating people's character. I don't care who it was. They were Americans, right? Okay, that's all we care about. They were going around prosecuting people to the community, assassinating people's character, and yet we find out they got child marriage, and they passed their last child marriage law 3 years ago, which allows adults to marry children at any age. The new law says no minimum age, right? The new law says that, right? Okay, so it's no minimum age, meaning any age of children. That ain't pedophilia. That covers any age of children. It ain't just 16 to 17. So now we see that you have definitely passed a law that is pedophilia. God doesn't agree with that. Any age of children, God agrees with that. God agrees with that. So God doesn't know the difference between you doing pedophilia or you just don't know. You do know. And guess what God knows? You have a track record dating back to 1880 when you had the age of consent at 7 years old. That's what God knows. So put it all together. What you think it is? America can't choose what age is proper to have sex with. Or are they just like children when they got the age of consent at 7 years old? It's starting to look like you're just like children. Not that you can't figure out the age, because anybody can figure out that you can't have sex with a 7-year-old girl, right or wrong. Nobody says, I just don't know if I can have sex with that 7-year-old girl or not. I don't know. She's looking more like a woman these days. No one has a problem or a hang up with discerning whether they can have sex with a 7-year-old girl that's a man or a woman, right? No one has that hang up, right? So it's safe to say when you put that law into action of 7 years old, men can have sex with 7-year-old girls here in America, and they did, you know that. So nobody didn't take advantage of it? Nobody didn't take advantage of it. Of course they did. So men was having sex with countless 7-year-old girls, and you know they was having sex with 8-year-old girls too, 9 and everything else. Well, they said 7, they can be anything up. That was everything. Don't you see that? That covered it all. You think that had to do with the fact that they didn't know what age was proper? No one looks at a 7-year-old girl and say, hey, I think we can have sex with that age. You think God looked at it like that? You know how little a 7-year-old girl is? Go Google 7-year-old girls. Go look at the images of 7-year-old girls. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. Go Google 7-year-old girls. Go to images and see. Once you Google it, go to the images of it. Don't go to the news, okay? It's going to give you a million things. Go to the image of 7-year-old girls and see all the images. That's what America thought they were able to have sex with back then. Listen, man, listen. In any place in time, there is no justification for a fully grown man bending down having sex with a 7-year-old girl, man. No. That's the perfect pedophile age. And you know what I mean when I say that. That's the perfect age for you to say it's wrong. Right? 7 years old, that's it. As a fully grown man, 7 years old, yeah, that's the perfect age to say, nah, time to die. But here you are, in all your Chuck Norris for kids' glory, sitting up acting like you got some kind of superiority over me. And we find you out to have the world record. If it was the Guinness Book of World Records for the age of consent, America would be right there like this. You'll be right there. With the world record, Guinness Book of World Records for the lowest age of consent at 7 years old in the state of Delaware in 1880, buddy. So you see how it's starting to look? Look how far it goes back. Over 100 years. And they had the age of consent. They had child marriage since 1957. Yeah, you might think I'm a clown, but listen, bro, I ain't playing no games. I'm not entertaining you. Something's going to be done about this. Because you sat back and thought that you could play with the community on their character. You thought you could sit back and play with the community on their character, and then we find out you got the world record. You have the world record. No one. Go look. I know you listen, I know all you Republicans, conservative Republicans will say, oh no, it has to be somewhere in the South Pacific. You know the type. It's somewhere in the South Pacific where they have the lowest age of consent. This is ridiculous. Do you know America don't got no lowest age of consent? You know them Republicans, them conservative Republicans? You lost your mind. You know down there in the South Pacific how they're not civilized. They done they done something lower. They got something lower than that or equal with that. There is no records of it. Ain't no records of it. That's all we talking about, records. I ain't going about assumptions and stereotypes like you. Yeah, you like to stereotype everybody, don't you? So, of course, you're going to stereotype everybody when it comes to this. Well, that's over there somewhere, down in the South Pacific. Well, listen, the bottom line is, bro, you ain't got no records of it, do you? I give you the most disrespect. You're a woman, I call you a bruh. Bruh, you ain't got no record of it, do you? That's what I'm talking about. You have no record of it, but what we do have record of is that you got the age of consent. You had it at 7 years old. You was having sex. Your men was having sex with 7-year-old girls. You telling me they wasn't doing it? Of course they were doing it. Why would they pass it and nobody does it? So somebody has this mentality to do it in order for them to do it, in order for them to pass the law. Okay, so somebody done it. Of course they did. Of course somebody did, man. Who intelligence are you insulting? And here you are thinking you some kind of integrity network. You can't be serious. I don't care who it is. You've been watching too much Suicide Squad where you think you finna get together as this collaboration of people to try to find pedophiles and stuff. You done lost your mind, buddy. Because guess what? The pedophile is you. You got the world record, bro. You got the world record. Let's go through the information one more time. You got the world record. You never had the age of consent of 18 in all 50 states. I might add that too. You never had that. I've never seen no record of you having the age of consent of 18 in all 50 states. So you always been off from the very beginning. Okay? Right now, you got the age. That's one law. You had the world record. That's one law, which is the age of consent is 7 years old in the state of Delaware in 1880. That's one law. The second law is the age of consent under 18 in 40 states now. That's almost all the country is under the age of 18 where they can have sex with child vagina in 40 states. That's the bottom line. That's all we talk about. The third law is you got 43 states of child marriage, and that varies from state to state when they did that. But we can be assured that since it goes back to 1957, this is all been here this whole time, here and there. It's we don't know when all of it happened, but all we know is they had child marriage since 1957. That's the third set of laws. We can be assured that it's been here since 1957. So you've had child marriage in 43 states. From state to state, it varies when they put it into law, but we do know they had it since 1957. When you first got that Heinz ketchup, in that glass bottle, that's when you got child marriage. Well, you had that long, probably, hey, that might have been out a little bit later after that, so you've had child marriage before the Heinz ketchup, right? Okay. That's the third law. The 43 states of child marriage. 43 states. It was 44 states. 43 states. Okay? Your fourth law is the new child marriage law passed under the Donald Trump's administration. This is how relevant. Now you see how it comes up to all the way up to the present time. And these are the same people who sit around and question people's sexuality integrity. You see what I'm saying? What would you think? Now we come up when someone would think, well, this is in the past. The new law was passed July 1st, 2019 under the Donald Trump administration. Now you see what I'm saying. We've come all throughout the history of all these child abductions and child rapes and child molestations through all the 70s, 80s, and the 90s, and even the early 2000s. All these abductions, and you have lawmakers that still pass a law that says they can have sex, they can marry children at any age after all these abductions and rapes and molestations. Who could bring themselves in a country like this with all this booty clapping and booty shaking and twerking and all of that, all this filth and funk? Who could bring themselves 3 years ago to make child marriage laws? This is real. It may feel surreal to you, but it's real. Who could bring themselves to make child marriage laws after all the history of America, all these abductions of these children? How can these politicians bring themselves 3 years ago under the Donald Trump administration with a full-blown culture of child protectors, bring themselves to pass child marriage laws? How can you explain that? That's pedophilia. You want me to tell you why? Because there's no culture that makes them inclined to make these laws. There is no culture that makes them inclined to do it. Who inclined these politicians to think like this? Huh? So it wasn't that, oh, well, America just kind of dates young girls, so we just going to pass these child marriage laws. It wasn't that, was it? You're not doing that in your community, are you? So that tells you it's pedophilia. Because they're not inclined culturally by the Americans to make these laws. You can't be stupid following me. So where does it come from then? It comes from one's own feeling to marry some child that's young, which is pedophilia, which is child desire, sexual desire for children. Well, you have a slight justification if your culture and country were inclined to date young girls. It's not here in the culture. It's not here in the community. Uh-uh. There's no one out here saying they want to marry children, do they? Is it? So why did you feel the need to pass child marriage laws 3 years ago then? Why did you feel the need to do that? What made you feel the need to make child marriage laws? Huh? What made you feel the need to do that? You can't call it, can you? You can't tell me what it is, can you? See, that's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm showing you. And these are the same people that rode around gang stalking like hyenas, white entitled hyenas, running around oblivious to the fact that they just passed child marriage laws July 1st, 2019, while they was playing games. That's a fatal cocktail. I'm sorry to tell you, that's a fatal cocktail, buddy. Listen, you ain't gonna work nothing out. You ain't gotta work nothing out. Don't you worry your little heart. You ain't gotta work nothing out. We gonna work all this out. You ain't gotta do nothing. You ain't gotta do a thing. We're gonna make sure that these white hyenas and everybody that was following them, running around, yapping around like hyenas, playing games with the community, and you got child marriage since 1957, we're gonna take care of that. Oh yeah, we're gonna take care of that, and you deserve it. You deserve every bit of it. Because you sit up and you play games and you had child marriage since 1957. That's unforgivable. We don't care what these fellow Christians say. We don't care what they're talking about. We don't care what they're talking about because they ain't say nothing about it, did they? Gay marriages in all 50 states, they ain't say nothing about that, did they? Did the Christians come out and protest? Did the black Christians come out? Let's talk about them too. Did the black community Christians come out? Did y'all come out and talk about gay marriage? Well, many black people are quick to shy away gay people, particularly gay men. They love, it's a delicacy of lesbians in the gay black community. Oh, lesbians are a delicacy. Oh, let's keep it 100. Lesbians are a delicacy in the African American community. I got to do a video about that. Oh, yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Men will play with them and do all kinds of things and have two women doing all kinds of things and everything. That's gay. Just to a spiritual man, that's a gay devil too. That's a gay devil too. It is. And the black community, the black Christian community did not come out and protest about gay marriage in all 50 states, did they? But they quick to jump on gay people, not lesbians. Oh, lesbians in the black community. Either way it go, people don't talk about that. But the preacher get up and talk about them gay guys, won't he? Oh yeah, Rev will talk about them gay guys. When have you heard a black minister really talk about lesbians and how wrong it is for a woman to want to lick out another woman's vagina when a woman knows the filth of another woman? When the woman knows the filth of the woman's anatomy. No one knows the filth of an anatomy more than the same sex. Whether it's a man or a woman, you know the filth of a man. If you're a man, you know the filth of a woman if you are a woman. And yet you do not hear the black ministers talk about the lesbians, do you? It's a mystery, isn't it? So listen. Everybody prayers that you think are going to be considered, everybody that you think that God is going to listen to and that they got a hotline to God, you're going to be disappointed with the results. Because these same people sit back and watch gay marriage come into full bloom right here in all 50 states in America. You sit back and watch, you Christian leaders sit back and, well, you was here. It happened June 2015. You were here. You wasn't in space, was you? You wasn't on Jupiter, were you? Were you on the moon? Okay, so you were here. You were here on Earth, right? Okay, so why you didn't say nothing to the congregation? Why you didn't say nothing to the people back in June? Go look at your messages. Back in June 2015, did you cover anything? From June 2015 to now, have you covered substantially this gay marriage issue? You didn't call your people to protest. You didn't say nothing yourself. You didn't show, and you still say this is your country. That's what I'm saying. These same ministers will sit up and say this is their country, and they sit back and watch gay marriage get put into all 50 states of America, and they say this is their country. Christians now, Christian ministers. Okay, the congregation might be a little off, you know. The ministers, the one that's going to be the leader. Telling you to being 100. Yeah, it ain't being hateful, it's being 100. We didn't make the rules, we just enforced the rules. This is what I tell people all the time. We're spiritual law enforcement. You know, you go take it up with the courts, buddy. That's what the police gonna tell you. Hey, I didn't make these, look, I didn't make these rules. I didn't make these laws. You go take it up with the courts, buddy. You can explain to the judge everything you want to say. Okay, same thing with me. You can explain to God everything you want to say. You go take it up with him. Okay? I'm just enforcing what the word of God says. Okay? You got a problem with it? You go take it up with God, buddy. Okay? That's what you do. Don't try to come to the law enforcement. Don't be an idiot. Okay? You know I didn't write these things. Okay? So don't be an idiot like as if I wrote it. Okay, that's the idiot of you, and you're insulting that's the idiot in you. You're insulting my intelligence, acting like, you know, because you're sidestepping the real issue, which is really, you know, that you don't want to obey the word of God. You have a problem with God. You have a problem with the word of God. You're insulting my intelligence as if you have a problem with me. You don't have a problem with me. You have a problem with the word of God. That's what you have a problem with. And half of these Christians, they call themselves warriors and all of this and all of that. Listen, man, look at it for what it is. Child marriage came in all 50 states, and what they say about it. I'm not saying they're witches and warlocks. I'm not going to the extreme. I'm just showing you how much of the deception that's going on. How much of a haze everybody's in. The bottom line is this, man. Listen. You have a responsibility to tell the people the truth. I haven't had a church. I don't have a church. I have not been over a church throughout 2015 and all that time. I didn't have no church. I didn't run away from a church where I was ministering at and then went out into the world. I've been out here in the jungle the whole time. Either way you look at it, you have been before TV. You have been before videos. You have been before major audiences all across the world during June 2015 until the present time, and you have not talked about child marriage in all 50 states. That changes everything. Okay? That's the difference between you and I. You have international audiences. And these are the same people that will sit back and say, well, I don't know what they got against America. Well, maybe it's the 50 states of gay marriage. Maybe it's the 50 states of gay marriage. Maybe it's the 43 states of child marriage. Maybe it's the last child marriage law passed under the Donald Trump administration. Maybe it's those three things. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it's the fact that America has the world record having sex with 7-year-old girls by government. By laws of the government. Didn't know that, did you? See, the sad part is most of the black ministers these days don't have the political backbone that their forefathers had. Well, back in the day, the black minister had to not only be spiritual, he had to also be political. He had to also look out for the rights of his people. He couldn't just sit back talking about only the things that most ministers, his counterparts would talk about, whether they be white ministers or other ministers. He had to cover the rights He had to make sure he knew the rights that was for black people and the wrongs that the white people was doing. He had to know about all those things. And see, this is where it's unique with the black minister. That's the 7th hour. That's where it's unique with the black minister. He has to also look out for his well-being here, being in America. He can't just turn a blind eye to the whole America. White ministers could do that. Well, what they got to worry about? Nah, let's keep it 100. Let's keep it 100. Nobody wasn't really playing around no white minister back in those days. They could do what they wanted to do. What problems they were going to have? Black ministers, some of them were getting their churches burned down. And you telling me he ain't going to be political? Yeah, you're going to be real political. In fact, you're going to learn the laws and everything based on them burning your churches. You're going to figure out, how can I prosecute that? Right or wrong? Oh, you ain't going to do that? There's something wrong with you then. See, we should have kept that same energy. Understanding these politics, understanding what's going on. Yeah, while you preaching, also understand these politics. Also understand what's going on around you. Here we are with gay marriage in all 50 states and no black minister done said anything about it. Listen, people are a shell of what we had in the past. Okay, when it comes to these politics. Ministers in these politics. Because people want answers about why all this going on. And you know what? Half of the ministers, they give a couple scriptures, do a little prayer, and that's about it. Come on, man. I know I'm right about it, man. Something like that. They might talk about a little something, but come on, man. Come on. You need to know these laws, and you need to get your anointing wrapped around this stuff to where you can talk about it fluently like me. I can tell you about all this stuff now. I went to war with them, and I can tell you all about it. You got 43 states in child marriage. You got child marriage here since 1957. You got a child marriage law. You got the age of consent under 18 in 40 states of America. Those are all 3 laws. Then you got the world record over every other country on earth here in America. At 7 years old, no one else has that law. That low for the age of consent. No, it's nowhere. I looked. I don't assume, just trying to say, hey, I got some, some people get happy and they but they don't check out the rest of the stuff. They just want to believe it's the lowest for age. Something like that, you know what I mean? So all I'm trying to show you is, listen, man, let's keep it real. Let's keep it 100. All this been a big show, man. All of this been a big show. When we find out who the real Christians are, now you see the difference. Because guess what? Half of y'all gonna still go down there as Christians and go and vote. You're gonna go and vote. Yes, you are. You're gonna go vote. You're gonna go vote down, and it's 50 states of gay marriage, which means your vote is going to empower some politician that is going to directly or indirectly support gay cause and movements in gay marriage and other gay laws. So you can't vote anymore as Christians. Listen, I ain't acting like your pimp telling you something that you can't do. I ain't acting like your daddy. Listen. How can you vote if Jesus couldn't vote? Jesus Christ, the Messiah, would not vote in America because of gay marriage in all 50 states, which means it's an obvious foundation that the politicians are going to be supporting. They're going to be supporting some type of gay laws, gay cause, and gay movements. So Jesus would be at fault for voting, therefore empowering the satanic kingdom. Right or wrong? So Jesus Christ would not vote because he would be at fault. Therefore, you following him, being a Christian, you can't vote. You can't vote next year because you would be at fault being a Christian. Therefore, that means you're being Christ-like. See, playtime is over. This is where it's at. I didn't make it happen. They made it happen. I voted for Obama. I voted for Obama twice. I voted for Hillary. So it's not like I've been like this. It came to be when I realized, how can a man of God or a woman of God vote? You have child marriage in all 50, I mean, you have gay marriage in all 50 states. No Christian can vote and support, have anything to do with that. What you have to realize, Christian community and heterosexual community, is you're going to become the minority to the gay community. I know you don't think so. Every day people are being turned out. I'm just keeping it 100. Every day somebody's trying, experimenting. You ain't look at this. Experimenting around being with a woman, if it's a woman, a man experimenting with being with a man. Especially as time is more uncertain, people feel the need here in America specifically to try different things, feeling the world is going to end. You don't know your own people, do you? Getting drunk during the holidays, don't know what the world is uncertain, want to try different things. Mm-hmm. And so day by day, people are getting turned out, and more people are getting into it. I'm telling you, that's what it is. And you got to consider that dynamic right there, because sooner or later, you're going to have a whole bunch of, at best, most of the people are going to be bisexuals. You're going to have people that are either bisexual or just gay or lesbian. That's what you're going to have. And heterosexuals that are just with the opposite sex, you're going to be the minority. So in other words, there's going to be, and I got to do a video about this, there's going to be sexual minorities, sexual orientation minorities. And guess who's going to be the sexual orientation minority? Heterosexuals. You're going to be the sexual orientation minority. That's what you're going to be. Because every day, listen, it's all in the culture. Can't you see that? You got gay marriage in all 50 states. If you haven't noticed, they're the ones fighting for more rights than anybody. Black people ain't even fight for rights as they once did. They don't really have a need to. Like, not rights per se. You see what I'm saying? They are the community that's fighting for rights more than anybody right now. Who else? Who else in America is fighting for rights more than gay people? You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So you're going to become the minority, heterosexuals. You're going to become the sexual orientation minority. And you think you're still going to be able to vote. You think you're still going to be able to do this. And you're not. You're not. Because it's already gay marriage in all 50 states. How are you going to support that? How are you going to support anything? Yeah. And like I told people in the past, the word of God is the word of God, right? You got a problem with it, take it up with God. Okay? Don't be an idiot and try to charge against pastors and ministers who did not make the word of God. Don't be an idiot. Okay? Be 100 and be smart enough to say, hey, you know what? God doesn't accept this. Okay? Don't sit up and try to blame pastors and ministers and Christians for what the word of God says. That's what I'm saying. I'm just being real about that, man. You know what I'm saying? That's the coward's way out. Instead of realizing what you already know, it's God that has a problem with this. Foundationally. Okay? That's what we're following. The word of God. Don't be stupid. Don't be a stupid person about it. At least be smart enough to make smart decisions on your moves and everything concerning this. Because confronting a man of God or a woman of God it's a useless effort. It means nothing. The word of God is still going to be right there waiting for you when you get done, buddy. And there's going to be another minister that pops up, and another one, and another one, and another one. Because the word of God is what they preach from and what they believe in. Okay? So don't be an idiot by trying to come up and badger some preacher or Christian. It's a lost cause. You know what I mean? It really is. It really, really is. You know? And so the bottom line is this, man. The country, the world, the community at large, you have not decided what is right and correct concerning children and sexuality. Okay? I don't think you're divided. I think you know what is right and you're just not doing nothing about it. Okay, in the world, once again, there's two types of vaginas. A child vagina and an adult vagina. You as an adult should have nothing to do with a child vagina. I don't care what age the child is. It's no age you should be with. That's a child. Okay, now if you were a child and you were with other children, that is different. Because you're underage. You're under the age of 18, right? So we ain't trying to split no hairs about that. You were a child, they were a child, you had experiences, that's what it is. Children are with children, adults are with adults. That's the world. That's how it is. It's unfortunate that children would do things at a young age, but that's life. We can't do nothing about that. Children will be with children, adults should be with adults. That's the universal, precise, right way of doing things with no liabilities. Because at the end of the day, I gave you more than one reason why it's wrong. It's not wrong just because of the age. Okay, the other reason it's wrong is because the child could have a baby at that age. That's a 7 hour. You want some 14-year-old girls having children? So why are you going to put the age of consent at 14 then? You want 16-year-old girls having children? Then why are you going to put the age of consent at 16? You want 17-year-old girls having children. Anybody agree with that in New York? That's the age of consent in New York. Anybody agree with 17-year-old girls having children? Anybody agree with that? Nobody wants that. That's a ruining of the life of a 17-year-old girl, right? So why you got the age of consent at 17 where fully grown men can throw penis inside 17-year-old girls? Which they probably going to have a baby with the girl. They probably intentionally going to do it because she's so young. They want her for themselves. He wants her for himself. That's the other reason it's wrong, because the kids throw their life away having an early pregnancy. The second reason it's wrong is they're not discerning. The third reason is they're not discerning enough to be with the right partner and probably go get an STD and throw their life away that way. So I'm showing you, besides the age, how it's still wrong for somebody to have sexual intercourse and they can't be responsible enough at that age where they could throw their life away through a pregnancy, a STD, and it could be psychological damage by dating some older person that just takes over their mind and manipulates their mind in all types of ways. A 17-year-old girl can't deal with no psychological master. That a man that knows how to manipulate a woman, he'll have that girl like a pet. Look at the psychological damage that could happen. Look at all of that. Anybody that's with a 17-year-old girl is going to be manipulated. Most of them. If a man is with a 17-year-old girl, he ain't going to be manipulated. That type of individual, you don't think he's going to manipulate. Man, come on, stop playing with me, man. So you got psychological manipulation to worry about, pregnancies at 17, 16 years old, and you got STDs they can have, and herpes and all different types of things at 17 to 16 years old. This is why you don't make yourself liable as a government for that. Because guess who's going to pay for those Pampers? Guess who's going to pay for that formula? When they have a child at 17, they coming right to the government, and guess what? By putting the age of consent at 17 or under 18, you have just made liabilities. That's a 7 hour. Boom. That is right there, Al. You just made liabilities. You got to pay for the child to have this and that, the third, because you put the age of consent under 18 and they had kids early. Now, full circle, they coming right back to you, going down to the food stamp office to get stuff for the children. And you got to pay for that as the government. So having the age of consent under 18, you create liabilities. Who's going to pay for that? The HIV medicine if the kid gets HIV? The government. Who's going to pay for herpes medicine and all that different stuff? And the girls are 17 years old. 16, the government's paying for all of that. So I'm showing you more than one way why it's wrong. And I got to do a video on this and keep campaigning about this, because you looking at just age. What about the pregnancies? What about the STDs? What about what about the psychological abuse that comes from a girl dating some old guy? Huh? These days, where people halfway crazy anyway. Think about it. Oh, you don't think no psychological abuse is coming with that? Well, he kind of controlling some 17-year-old girl. Oh, he gonna have sex with her and let her just be free. Man, you tripping. He gonna just have sex with her and just let her be free to the world, be around girls her age, guys her age. It's gonna be some psychological abuse with that. So see how you putting the children in harm's way? Pregnancies, STDs, psychological abuse that could last for a lifetime. These are all liabilities that the government put on themselves by having the ages of consent under 18. If they want to have sex under 18, don't make yourself liables, morons. Don't make yourself liable for it. If they do it, don't let the parents say, well, if they didn't have the age of consent, if they didn't have the age of consent at 17, she wouldn't have been whisked off with that one older guy. It's all because the government even allows that. That's what the parents gonna say at the end when they get the liabilities. When she got STDs and babies, then they gonna start complaining. At first, she talking about, well, times have changed. well, pedophiles get to be with kids. When adult penis get to penetrate child's vaginas, that's the time to change. That's what the times have come to. That's how the times have changed. See, this is a game you shouldn't have played, man. You know, this is a game you don't play with no grown man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't walking around here no idiot. Obviously, many of you are. You walking around here idiots. There is either adult vagina or child vagina. Okay? You let people have sex with children, they're going to have children, and they're going to have STDs, and they're going to have mental abuse that makes the government liable. They're liable for all of that. They're going to pay for all of that. Being them that young, they're paying for it all. So why would you create liabilities for yourself with young children having babies and STDs and mental abuse? Why would you make yourself liable for that? That's what I'm saying. That tells you it's lust again. That tells you it's pedophilia again. I'm not the only one that thought about that. That children having the age of consent under 18 can produce children having children. Yeah, I'm not the only one thought about that. But in men's lusts for children, it didn't matter, did it? Not enough for it to go to 18. And that's what I'm saying. So they also created liabilities for themselves. And take notes and take heed for the rest of the people around the world. That's all you're doing. You're creating liabilities for yourself because they're going to come back with STDs, babies, and mental abuse that you're going to have to pay for as a government. That's what's going to happen.